special family. And he was teaching Maish Wolf Shechita, how to shecht, the laws of Yor Dayah, the laws that teach kashrut. And he would take him, he would even let him practice, and he would give him knives to use. And Maish Wolf, you have to know, he's like 6'6". He's got a frame that's like very wide, very large, and he's very big man. And comes from a very, very, very famous family that's known for their strength. And one time, as he was driving Rev Avrohom to work, there was a bad blizzard, a snowstorm, and the snowstorm never stopped Rev Avrohom from doing a mitzvah. He just continued, but as he was continuing, the driving conditions were very blurry. It looked like there was fog and snow mixed up, and it was very hard to see in front of you. And instead of driving, steering like in front of you, you had to like drive and steer at the side of you to watch if your car was next to the yellow line on the side. Definitely not a comfortable drive. And then it was a little bit clearer, but it was very snowy. It was very hard to see the roads. And there was one part, sometimes where you really, really had to stick to the speed limit, and you really had to even go slower at times. And they were driving until suddenly, a lot of people drive in snowstorms, but you have to be extra careful. You turn on your amber lights, those orange lights. Orange lights can penetrate the fog better. But it turns out as they're driving, Maish Wolf was driving, and at that time, Rev Avrohom, his own eyesight wasn't so strong anymore, and Rev Avrohom had diabetes, and at that time, it affected his eyesight. He wasn't able to see clear, and so well. And all of a sudden, he tells Maish, okay, get ready to turn left. Maish is looking, what? Turn left. There's no road there. And I was like, yes, there is. It's snowy. It's hard to tell. He said, yeah, I can't see through the snow. How am I going to know when to turn? So Avrohom goes, I'll tell you when to turn. Turn now. He's like, what do you mean? Avrohom says, turn now. Hey, he trusts Avrohom. And he turns, and all of a sudden he realizes, wow, there you are on the next interstate highway heading in the right direction. He said to Avrohom, how do you know when to turn? Avrohom told him, I always learn Mesachah Chulim Mishnayot. I say it Baal Peh by heart on the way to Shechita. Because this is the Mesachah that speaks about Shechita, about Kashrut. So I always memorize, I always say the whole parak on the whole Mesachah on the way there. When I get to the 7th parak, I'm always ready for this turn. I was at the 7th parak, so I told you to turn. And your mice couldn't believe it. Here you're in a snowstorm. You can't see in front of you. And all of a sudden, you just know intuitively that that's the right thing because he's up to the 7th parak of Chulim Mishnayot. Amazing. But one time, as they were getting there, as they were shechting,
did you get to this place?
One time, yeah, they got to this nation, they were shechting. One time, as they were shechting, they saw that there was a new man working there who called himself the Rav Hamasher, a rabbi that makes sure everything is kosher. And he was not a Rav Hamasher. He was not being careful with the halachot, and he was really, really somebody who shouldn't have been in the business. He was, they hired him because he looks like a rabbi. He had a nice hajab panim. He had nice hair, and they quickly, sometimes people are fooled by looks, so they accepted him. But this man was Amma Aretz. He didn't know the laws of Shechita, the laws of Yor Dayah that teach you how you have to kasher an animal. There's a lot of laws. For instance, within 3 days after an animal is shechted, it must be washed. It has to be soaked and washed, and the water has to be a certain temperature. Not too cold and not too hot. It can't be too hot and it can't be too cold, because if it's too hot, it's like cooking the meat with the blood, because the blood will get absorbed. The blood that's on the meat will get absorbed. So it's like putting the blood into it. And if it's too cold, it closes the cells. It closes the cells that they don't, the molecules that they don't let out the blood. The blood won't draw. And you have to salt the meat. There's a halachot, how thick the salt has to be, and how you have to put the meat on a ramp that the blood should flow down. There's so many laws. And this guy, this Rav Hamasher, as he called it, he wasn't such a rabbi. They called him rabbi, and he even gave hasher for certain ice creams and popsicles. But he he wasn't really trustworthy. He wasn't really very Shemayim. Why? He was often just out to make the money, out to be mekil, lenient in the laws. There were times, like one time he drove his bicycle, and on Yom Tov, he drove his bicycle to the place to wash the meat. You know, like you don't ride your bicycle and you don't do avirot, like that, just because you're trying to do a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah b'avirah. And he went, and a lot of times he would say, "Oh, when was the meat shechted? 4 days ago. Okay, it's sufficient." He wasn't careful with the law. So Rev Avrohom would always tell him, "Stop it! You don't know what you're doing." And the man was, of course, embarrassed because don't tell anyone I'm already. Like, who do you think you are? Big Talmid Chacham. And Rev Avrohom would not tolerate his negligence, his ignorance in the halachot of shechita, and he would give him musai. He would often tell him, you're wrong. You're not following halachah properly. And the guy, he would always get very upset. Till one day he was mamash careless with kashrut. And the Rev Avrohom shouted at him, "What are you doing here?" And the man said, "You're fired." And he fired Rev Avrohom. But even though Rev Avrohom was fired, he said, "Why would I want to work with people that are careless and selling things that they call kosher when it's not? Now, working with them, I feel bad that he's in the institution." And Avrohom left, even though he loved that profession of shechita. He knew that Hashem would provide parnasah in other ways. It turns out he had to make bookcases to make parnasah. One day someone ordered from him 3 bookcases. And the man said, "Here, Rabbi, here's the money." And he gave Rev Avrohom $200, $200 bills. And he said, "Okay, Rev Avrohom, so I'll pick up the bookcases later, in around a week." Rev Avrohom would go buy these sheet boards, these 8-foot by 4-foot sheet boards, and cut them, and nail them, and saw them, and paint them, and shellac them, and sand them, and smooth them, and make them nice and pretty molding. And the man said, "Okay, my bookcase is ready. I paid in full. I paid for them already." Rev Avrohom, he said, "No, you didn't pay me. You only paid me for 2, not 3. The man said, "No, I paid you for 3. I said, "No, I remember you gave me just the first 200. "No, I paid you everything." Rev Avrohom said, "No, I'm telling you, you didn't pay me for the 3rd one." But the man insisted. So Rev Avrohom knew, okay, what could you do? So Rev Avrohom's son told him, he said, "Abba, but it's not fair. You can't let him get away with that. I was there to give the money, it was only 2. And Rev Avrohom said, "Look, work doesn't give you a parnasah. Hashem gives you a parnasah. Hashem already declared on Rosh Hashanah how much money I'm going to make and how much cents I'm going to make. How many dollars, how many cents. What do I have to worry about? I just have to do my job, and Hashem will give me parnasah the way He wants." He said, "But he's wrong." Rev Avrohom said, "Listen, Hashem knows I'm entitled to $300. If He wants me to get it, He'll give it to me." And his son was looking at him, "Okay, I don't know. There's no profit if you're losing money." And all of a sudden, they went to pick up more wood. And as they went to pick up more wood, they picked up one of the boards, and there was $100 bill that a guy, one of the workers, had dropped. And the halakha is avidat akum muteret. You're allowed to keep an avidat, money of a guy that you find. And because the Torah only says, "Hashat avidat achicha," to your brothers, not to people who are foreigners, are green. And Hashem wanted Avrohom to have the money so as not to lose out. So you see from that when you have bitachon, you don't lose out. You only can gain. And you see that very clearly from Avrahom's bitachon. Well, it turns out that Rev Avrohom, even though he was an incredible Talmid Chacham, he knew much Torah. They even asked him to be a rabbi in the yeshiva to teach and sit in the front of the shul, but he instead chose the back seat. He didn't like to attract attention for himself. He didn't like being in the limelight. He would wear even green pants and a smushed hat. Everyone's wearing blue pants and a white shirt. He'd be with his green pants and his blue sweater. And on his sweater, you could see little hair particles from his rushing to give haircuts to people. And you could see how busy he was. His hands were always working for others. He would often play a game with his family. Different kind of games. Sometimes he'd play marbles, make the children feel well. He would give them rides on his back. He would play games like take off my socks to teach them chinuch, kibbud avim, respect your parents, help them get dressed. He'd take off his socks and then he'd bend his toes in a way that you couldn't pull off his socks. He would let them drive the tractor to cut the grass at the schlacht house, and he would warn his children, don't cut the roses, the flowers, and don't let the tractor run on the rocks. And he would always give them a good time. He would have a trick where he made himself like an amusement park. He turned himself into a ride. How did he do that? He lay flat on his back, and he said, here, stand on my hands. And as he stands on his hands, he picked up his feet. And as he picked up his feet became like your skis. And all of a sudden, he would start shaking you and moving you around and seeing how long you can go skiing in the water and the waves. And one time, as he was playing such a game with his children, they were playing croquet. Croquet is when you take the sledgehammer type of wooden hammer, and you swing the hammer over your head like this, and you knock this hard ball, similar to a bowling ball but smaller, through this little hole. And his daughter, Simi, who he loved so much, especially because she used to watch him when he was a Sofer and he would write letters in the Torah, she would take a marker and imitate him as if she was writing a Sefer Torah. She would also write letters and copy his patience. When you write neat, you have to be very slow, very patient, very meticulous. And she would always be watching him writing the letters of the Torah, and she would also try to make the letters of the Torah. And then sometimes she would even, in the letter of the Torah, she would make a mitzvah. Like in the letter Aleph, she'd make a beautiful Aleph, but like one part of the Aleph was a perfect etrog. Or in a bet, she'd have a perfect besamim. Or in a gimel, she would have, a mitzvah that's with gimel. And she was very precious to him, of course. And as she was swinging that large hammer, her hammer went over the head and into his mouth, and it knocked out his front teeth. But Rev Avrohom quickly turned around. He didn't want his daughter to see his bloody mouth with teeth falling out. He didn't want her to be embarrassed and shamed that look what she did. So he quickly turned around and said, I'm going back to go to the house. As he ran to the house, his wife Esther, Tzaddiket, she should be well. She went and she said, what's the matter? And all of a sudden he goes, opens his mouth as the blood pours out, and he goes, and he blows out his teeth there. She's my gosh. And he says, shh, don't tell Simi. Don't tell Simi. What do you mean don't tell? Shh, don't. I don't want her to feel bad. And there he is, blowing out his teeth. And Simi did not know, even for almost 15 years, she didn't even know what happened. So many years later, when she was a Kala, she was getting married, so they were saying how much her father loves her and holds of her as such a good girl that he wouldn't even let her feel insulted. And there, he even held the pain. He bit the pain so as not to let her feel shame. She did it by accident. It wasn't her fault. She was a katan. Katan ain't bodat. They don't have sufficient knowledge, sufficient brains to be careful. Chazal even say, a katan pigiyatan ra. When you're with a child, be careful, because pigiyatan ra. If they hurt you, they're patur. They don't have to pay. And if you hurt them, you're chayav. So you watch out when you're with them, because you can't gain. And it turns out, another time, similar to that, if Avrahom's son was giving him a ride, Avrahom's son, Maimon, was giving him a ride in a car, right when Maimon got his license. And at that time, Maimon was so excited. Oh, great, I can finally drive. Here, let me drive you to yeshiva. And he got into that big blue station wagon. He said he opened the door for his father like a royal person, dignitary of the land. That's proper kibbud avim, to always open the door for your father and mother. Similar to a newlywed couple where the husband opens the door for his wife. They usually only do that for around 2 weeks. And they get in fights and then they stop opening the door. But kavod is that you should open the doors for each other as often as you can. And at that time, Maimon was so anxious to just drive and show, look